Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Purposeful Wisdom Podcast. It is Dawn Christine. Thank you guys so much for being here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share, like, subscribe, share these videos with people that you feel need them. Use them for yourself. You guys know I give you guys the best of the best on this platform. I want to help you grow and educate yourself and be the best version of you that you can possibly be. Today, I have a special guest on the podcast, Teresa Heureux. Teresa is an author, professional keynote speaker, certified personal trainer, master empowerment life coach, entrepreneur, and domestic violence survivor. She is dedicated to serving others and helping those globally find new direction by gathering immense strength from within to start their journey away from toxic situations of abuse. She has more than 16 years of experience supporting domestic violence victims and survivors through her coaching, resources, and now book project, My Rock, My Hard Place. She is on a mission to advocate and create awareness about the issue of domestic violence for healing to begin and continue. She lives with her husband, Cliff, in Sacramento, California, and a menagerie of rescue fur babies, including her 2 Siberian Huskies, Akira and Hachi, along with a collection of kitties in all shapes, sizes, and attitudes. I love it. Thanks, Teresa, for being here. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great, Dawn. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. I mean, and this is a very serious topic, and the pleasure is all mine because domestic abuse is huge. It's a serious thing, and I know, just personally, I've been in situations like that. Obviously, you have, but there's so many people out there that are in situations like that just don't have the courage to leave their environment. And I love what you're standing for. I love that you're trying to educate people and bring people awareness. And I always start from, your story. I'd love for you to tell my listeners your story of how you survived domestic violence, what you did to overcome this, and what made you write your book and share this story with others.
Well, when you get into a domestic violence situation, you don't realize that's what it is. You see the unicorns, you see the glitter, you see the rainbows. And that's what I saw. I was a competitive bodybuilder. This guy was into bodybuilding as well. And unfortunately, he got into my mind. He controlled my mind first. And that's usually what happens. And the next thing I know, it went to financial, social, and unfortunately, extreme physical. And we were awaiting trial. And the district attorney court ordered me to go to a therapist because he said, because of your abuse, I'm sure you have PTSD. And I said, I don't need a therapist. I'm good. And he said, no, you need to go. I'll court order it. And the therapist, first words out of his mouth were, you're going to need medication. And I said, no, I'm an athlete. I don't need medication. That's not what I need. So I went back to the district attorney. He said, I tell you what, you make a journal. Well, that journal became My Rock, My Hard Place. I just kept writing and writing and writing and put it on a shelf, didn't think about it, worked on getting away from that situation, worked on finding me again. And, you say about people just can't leave. That's why I'm so loud in my advocacy. I have this cheerleader voice that I'm determined I am going to do whatever I can until my very last breath on this earth to help domestic violence victims and survivors. It is not pretty. It's a serious subject, like you said in the beginning. It's ugly. My book is, I mean, there's some hard things to read in here. If you know me, this is a very hard book to read. But at the end, it tells you how I changed my mindset and how I was able to move on and create the life that I love. So
I
I
love
put it
that.
on. Aw, thank you. So I put it on the shelf and I moved to Sacramento, met Cliff, and last August I actually work for the Brave Thinking Institute, and we're a personal development company. And I was listening to one of the classes, and Mary Morrissey said, "If you have a project on a shelf, get it off." Figure it out, make it work. I tore my office apart, Don, tore it apart, looking for the CD-ROM that my book was on. The CD-ROM. Who can print that? Who does that? So I finally found someone that would print it, and I went to the FedEx, and it's really it's kind of a funny story, but it wasn't, because I have the CD and I'm holding it like this, and I asked the lady to print it, and she says, "Well, I can put it on a flash drive for you." And I said, "Okay." So we walk over, put it on a flash drive, and I'm looking, and she says, "Oh, those ones down there are for kids." And I said, "No, this is the one I want." So she has sat on my
Oh,
desk.
oh my gosh, wonderful.
It's Wonder
I
Woman. She
love
has sat on my
this.
desk since that day that I got my book printed.
Oh my God.
And I looked around, and then, I really, not only my story in this book, I wanted to put statistics, because a lot of people think, "What do you mean you're writing a book about domestic violence? That's not that big of a deal." Oh my God. When I was doing research last year, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men had experienced some type of domestic abuse. Now, with women, it usually always escalates to physical. With men, it usually starts out with verbal, emotional, financial, social. And so the men especially they're not going to say anything, but 1 in 7 men. So this year, it's 1 in 3 and 1 in 6 in 1 year. And that's reported. That's what's
Right,
reported.
right.
And it sickened me. It angered me. It pissed me off. I was so mad. I said, "What can I do?" So I started Survive, Rise to Thrive. So Survive, Rise to Thrive, please have your listeners visit at surviverisetothrive.com. We do virtual workshops, in-person retreats. We do lunch and learn. We do so many different types of events for victims, survivors, and those that love them, because the people around you have no clue what to do or say. They
Right.
can't change things, but they can be there. They can, be there for the victim. And then I said, "You know what? I need to do even more. I want to get grants. I want to get donations. I really want to help." So I started the SRT Foundation. So that's my nonprofit 501c3, and became a certified advocate for domestic violence. So now I can go into the court systems and actually help. And I'm doing whatever I can through Survive, Rise to Thrive, and SRT to help victims and
Wow.
survivors.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You're you're just such a huge inspiration, because this is a serious topic, and a lot of people don't talk about what's going on to them because of the shame around it, really. And I can speak from personal experience myself. I many years ago, I was in a domestic violence situation myself. I had a boyfriend that was very abusive to me many years ago. So I understand, and I am speaking also, from a personal experience. There was a lot of shame around that, because the last thing you want to do, you already feel shamed that it's happening to you now, you're not in that right headspace where now you're thinking, well, I can't tell my family, I can't tell my friends, what are they going to think? They're going to think I'm even, and you just get into that head, and you stay stuck. You stay
Mhm,
stuck until
mhm.
this burst or something just ignites you, and you're just like, "I'm done, I'm out." What did that look like for you, Teresa? What was your "I am done" moment taking the abuse?
Statistically, victims go back 7 times before they just say that, "I'm done." And I was right there. I changed locks. I put clothes out in the front, yard. Pick your stuff up. But I tried to help him. I called in a lot of favors to help him get into a halfway house. He was into drugs. He was into alcohol. He was extremely violent. He was bipolar. I tried to get help for him, and the deal was I was going to meet him at the Dunkin' Donuts. I remember very distinctly at 7 o'clock one morning. I would buy him coffee, buy him a donut, and then I would take him to this halfway house, because you had to check in by 8 o'clock. He wasn't there. I waited and waited and waited. And finally, about 7:45, my phone started blowing up, and it was him. He was high, drunk, or both, calling me every name in the book. How dare I leave him? You better come back for me, blah, 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 blah. I hung up the phone. I instantly called my phone carrier, and I said, I need to change my number right now, immediately. And they said, that they would do it immediately for me. I explained the situation, and I didn't look back. And
Wow.
about 3 months later, I got a letter from him saying, please come visit me. I managed to get to the halfway house. I would love for you to come and see what I've done. So that was like a Monday. I got the letter, and I said, I'm going to go just to see. And on Thursday, I called the facility, and I said, I'd like to know what, there was some kind of an event going on that Sunday. And they said, oh, he violated rules, so we had to kick him out. I
Wow.
was I was I was so done. I was even more way done, than I was before. I was
That
like,
was
you
a
don't even want to help
blessing.
yourself. Yeah, yeah, it was. And it's interesting, Dawn, that you talk about the shame around domestic violence. A lot of people are ashamed. A lot of people are humiliated. A lot of people are embarrassed. And that's what they don't talk about. But you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. I did absolutely not a flipping thing wrong. Nothing. The
Right.
only thing I can blame myself for is giving my heart to the wrong person. And when you realize that in your head, and you realize that you have a voice that you can use and help others, oh my gosh, the whole world opens up. I mean, I will be in an Uber and talk to people. I will be in an elevator and talk to people. I have made so many connections just by just opening up,
Right.
and it's interesting when you talk about how you feel when you're in a domestic violence situation. That abuser takes control of you. That abuser takes your worth away.
Right.
And what we need to realize is, when we get out of that situation, our worth goes up. Mine went up exponentially. Oh my
Right.
gosh.
Right.
Because I was even stronger than I realized. We are stronger as humans. No, forget humans. We're stronger as females than any situation or condition that could possibly be thrown at us. We just have to dig deep and find it.
Yep.
And sometimes you have to ask for help. And
Yes.
asking for help does not mean you're weak. It means you want to be strong.
Yes.
And that is one of my favorite quotes in my book. It means you want to be strong. If you keep, and you know what's really funny? The other day I went to the Dollar Tree, and it's not the Dollar Tree anymore. It's the $1.25 tree. But
Yeah.
anyway, I know. I asked the girl one day, I said, are you going to change your name? She goes, why? And I went, never mind, never mind.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
um, I was at do you know they actually have a clearance rack there?
Yes.
Yes.
I think I don't know. I don't know where I am if they do, but I know like certain Dollar Trees have like the $5 and up lane now and there. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but they actually have a clearance rack. So when we come out of a domestic violence situation, a lot of people say, oh, and I just got right back into another one. That's because you didn't change your daggone price tag. You got to change your price tag. You've got to get off of that clearance rack that's on the Dollar Tree. And you know what? I'm in a little beautiful turquoise box with a white bow. I don't know about y'all, but I'm Tiffany all day, or Louboutin or Gucci or whoever. Get that price tag, and don't let anybody come near you that cannot afford your worth. Don't do it. When you do that, you'll never be in another domestic violence situation. But when you keep thinking in your mind that your worth is what he said it was or she said it was, it's not going to happen. You've got to make that change.
Yeah, and it starts with you. Change starts with you because, you know, oftentimes, especially with, my past clients, I've had certain clients that were in domestic violence, situations. And, it stems from past, and it stems from past belief systems and mindset and all those things. Everything is connected, and then if you dig back even further, it usually has to do with a trauma from childhood. You were made to feel less than, you were made to feel not good enough. And so we tend to mirror our surroundings as children. So if you are in a situation, and this happened to be with some of my clients that I've personally coached and whatnot, the aftermath of it, of course, it always stemmed from like, oh, well, I learned from childhood, my parent or my uncle or whoever didn't make me feel worthy. And that started a mindset of, oh, well, I'm not worthy of someone other than what I attract, because you like attracts like. So I find it interesting that you said about mindset, because this is so true that we tend to not go within and work on ourselves and then just jump right into another relationship. I'm guilty as charged here. Like, I had to learn from, like, because you will keep repeating the same pattern over and over. Just change the name. You're in a similar circumstance. It may not be domestic violent related, but it may be emotionally abusive or verbally abusive. So the forms of abuse can change and vary, but a spade is a spade. You're just changing the name until you really learn your worth and what you have deep inside and work on you. You're never going to attract the relationship that you truly deserve. That's just, it's a fact. It's a fact. And I'm glad that you pointed it out, because a lot of people, they try to grasp at straws after a huge heartache, especially in a domestic violence. We want to be nurtured and comforted, but we don't realize that we're not in the best mind frame to attract anything less than that. We have to work on us and realize our worth in order to rise and get a person that is worthy of our time. Because another thing that I've learned along the way is you can't attach your worth to a person. Another person will not complete you. Okay. A lot of people are looking for a quick fix. And at the end of the day, it's about the hard work. It does take work. It takes hard work to change for the better. And the change starts with you. This is not putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. You have to change your mindset, your thinking patterns, your belief systems in order to be the best version of yourself moving forward, and truly believe that you are capable of anything you put your mind to, and that's where people kind of get a little uncomfortable, because they're like, oh, well, that's hard. I don't want to do that. I want the quick fix. I'm just going to find the man or the woman or the thing or whatever addiction they attach to make me feel better. But at the end of the day, you're just going to spiral down until you do the work, and until you commit to the work. That's when change happens. That's when your life starts to look better. Until then, you're just going to be spinning your wheels. Right. What are the signs? I would love for you to educate my viewers on some of the warning signs that they are in an abusive relationship. And I'm talking not only physical, but mentally and emotionally, because those all go hand in hand in domestic violence.
It's interesting. One of the easiest way to see the type of person that you're learning about, i.e. your date, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, see how they treat others. How do they treat the server or the bartender or the person in the grocery store? See that, because that's underlying. They might think you won't be paying attention to that. But as I looked back, my abuser he always thought he was entitled. He always thought he was better than everyone. Now, from a physical standpoint, he was gorgeous because I trained him. But the rest of him screwed up. And he would always treat people so horribly. And that is a huge sign. Oh, yeah. The other sign is, what do they do? And let your friend listen to your friends, because if your friends are saying, well, you used to go out all the time, now you don't never go out. Well, it's okay when you're in a relationship to want to spend time with your person, but are you not going out because you want to spend time with your person because he won't let you? He won't allow it. He won't like it. How are you dressing? No, you met me dressed like this, but now you want me to change? Or is he isolating you from your family, friends, and coworkers? Is he saying derogatory things about them to kind of push them away, and you keep a distance between you two? There's so many flags. And what kind of irritates me a little bit right now, we call narcissistic gaslighting and whatever. Those are just really nice terms for somebody who is an abuser.
Right.
That really, let's be honest. I
Right.
mean, you know, the term narcissist is beautiful. I think it sounds pretty, but it's not pretty. It's not pretty what they do. So I am not going to call anybody a narcissist. You're an abuser. That's just it, plain and
Right.
simple.
Right. It's
You
a
know,
form of mental abuse at the end of the
absolutely.
day. And and people need to understand too, especially that you brought up narcissism. There, I just did a podcast recording a couple of shows back where we talked about narcissism and then narcissistic traits, because at the end of the day, we all have narcissistic traits within us. That is just hands down. There's a huge difference between narcissism and narcissistic traits. So you're right about that. It is abuse. It's a form of emotional and mental abuse. Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And you know what's really scary now is the technological abuse has gotten huge. Stalking you with your phone, blowing your phone up, putting trackers on your phone. Those kinds of things have happened. And you know, the other part of domestic violence that just has my heart is pet abuse. I have partnered with shelters across the country, and we're working and doing whatever we can to foster and board victims' pets so that everybody can get out safe and together. Now, if anybody goes on my website, Survive, Rise to Thrive, my husky Hachi, who's right here, he actually lost his eye because of a domestic violence situation at 8 weeks old. And I was very fortunate to be able to adopt him at 10 weeks old, but he's kind of like my poster child for the pet abuse aspect. If the abuser can't get to you to beat you or hurt you, they will hurt your pet. So see how your pet acts around your husband when you come home. Does he cower in a corner? When you used to lay up on the couch with him, something's going on. I didn't
Right.
leave because I had pets. And shelters at the time would not take a victim and their pets. There's only 8 states left that do not have shelters that will not accept pets. So I'm working with a few different organizations to make that easy
That's
for
amazing.
victims.
That's amazing. That is so because again, especially when you're in that mindset, you don't put you first. You put everything. Oh, and what about this? What about that? So you've covered that basis where they don't have to worry about the animals being harmed.
Yeah,
Like,
they
I
don't have
love
to make
that.
that choice. They don't
Right.
have to make that choice anymore. We can make it happen. So if any of your listeners, or if they know anybody that's in a domestic violence situation that has a pet, reach out to me on surviverisetothrive.com. I will find a foster, or we will board your animal for you until you're in a safe situation.
That's amazing, Teresa. I love that. I would love for you to give my audience some strategies of how to stay safe. So there's that moment when you've already decided you're going to go, and then to where you can actually leave, right? Because again, especially that we're at the bottom parts, and we're thinking of finances, and we're thinking where we're going to go and how we're going to survive and pay, and we think of all these things when you're in a domestic violence relationship situation. Give my audience some survival tips. What are ways that they can stay safe to transition from being physically in it to being safe? What does that even look like?
Well, let me preclude that by giving you a quick story. I was being kicked on the ground like a dog. People were out standing watching, and somebody said, "What can I do? What can I do?" I said, "Call the police." And one of my neighbors, for some reason, I had given her everything about this person, everything about him. I took a copy of his driver's license. I got his tag number of the car. I got his family's address, telephone numbers. I got everything I could. And she had a piece of paper. So all she had to do was hand it to the police when they got there. That's
Good for
all
you.
she had to do. So if nothing else, get that information. Don't put it in your phone. because he will find it. He or she will find it. Hand a piece of paper to a trusted friend, somebody that you know that is going to check up on you. And if they don't hear from you, or if you don't check in, they're going to call 911 and hand that piece of paper right over. Any tattoos he has, anything about him, where he frequents, that saved my life that night. Honestly, it did.
Wow.
Because somehow he had managed to get away, and they had the tag number and the make and the model of the car, and they put a bolo out for it, and within minutes he was apprehended. And it was, Dawn, I have to tell you, I never condone violence ever, but a little teeny blonde chick pulled him over. She was the responding officer, and let's just say she did what she needed to do. He was resisting arrest, I think, but anyway, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So what would, besides that, like if you're in a situation, let's say it's escalating, let's say you're physically in the house and he's or she's coming, because honestly, there is no gender role with domestic violence. I truly feel that. I think domestic violence is domestic violence, abuse is abuse. It's not gender specific at all. What would a person in harm's way do to protect themselves? They're in it, they're in the house, there's no way. What can people do to protect themselves and
Well,
eventually get out?
well, first and foremost, again, ask for help. People that are in domestic violence advocacy understand the sensitivity in everything. We will not be blowing your phone up. We will not knock on the door and say, "Hi, I'm your advocate." No, we will do whatever we can behind the scenes to get you safe. Pay attention to his schedule so that you can tell someone, well, he's out of the house from 8 to 5, and then, okay, we'll be here at 9 o'clock and we're going to put you in a car and we're whisking you away, or whatever it takes. um, Unfortunately, you're always in survival mode when you're in a domestic violence situation. You're always fight or flight. What do I do? And you hear his key in the door, and instantly your body just is, your hair stands up on the edge, and you're instantly, like I said, walking on eggshells. It's
Right.
horrible. It's the worst thing for your body to go through, and your mind and your spirit. And unfortunately, the physical, it will manifest itself years later.
Right.
And so, making sure, this is going to sound crazy, but I made sure there were no knives in the house, because he actually did hold a knife to my throat. I made
Wow.
sure there were no knives in my house. I made sure that my cat was always away from him. I made sure that, just little things. I mean, every situation is different, but as I said, don't waste another day. Don't waste another precious day of your life in a situation where you are out of control and you're being controlled and someone else is abusing you, whether it be, social, financial, verbal, mental, technologically, abusing your pet, or physical. I always said that the physical was the easiest. All the bruises, bumps. I mean, I would wear a turtleneck in July because I had hand marks on my throat. I would wear sunglasses because I had black eyes in on a rainy day. But those things have healed. It's what happened to my head and my heart and my spirit that took forever.
Right. Right.
So learning to protect yourself, not just your physicality, but yourself. Don't let things bother you so much. People say, "Oh, but I love him." No, no, you do
I
not love
love.
someone that's abusing you.
Right.
You are in love with and are grieving for what you thought you were going to have.
Right.
And Survive, Rise to Thrive, we have our core values. And one of them is, we do believe in the grieving process. You're allowed to be sad and miss what you thought was going to be. Like in the very beginning, Don, we started talking about unicorns and rainbow and glitter. You miss that, and that's why this time of year is so tough for victims and survivors. Survivors especially are missing what they thought they were going to have. They thought they're going to have the big Thanksgiving dinner, the big Christmas, the big holidays, and that didn't happen. It's okay to grieve over that, but don't waste another second grieving over someone who took control of you and hurt you in any way. The day that my
Yeah.
abuser died, my friend, the girl that I gave that paper to, Kathy, she called me and she said, Teresa, I want you to sit down. And I said, why? What's going on? She said, he died. And I said, oh, okay, thanks for telling me. And she goes, that's it? Nothing? She was mystified. She could not believe that I felt nothing. And I said, Kathy, I am not going to give one more second of emotion to him, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not. Quite honestly, and this is going to sound terrible, I wished for him to live a very long, miserable life, but he didn't. Unfortunately, he died young. But I wasn't going to waste any more time on someone like that. I just wasn't. And you know what
Right.
that's like.
Right, because you
Don't
had to put that time and energy towards yourself, which actually brings me to my next question for you.
exactly.
What did you do? Because, I agree, the bruises, they go away, but mentally and emotionally, forget it. That takes a while for anything traumatic in your life
Yeah.
to work through, and we shouldn't hide our emotions. We need to own and feel what we're feeling, but yet have a system for moving past the trauma, right? So, what did that look like for you? How and what tools did you utilize to not only heal body wise, but mentally? What tools did you utilize to change your mindset?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up right now because I was always a competitive athlete. I was a competitive bodybuilder and powerlifter. And so I didn't lose that part of me as much as a lot of people lose so much of themselves. I still had my career. I was still a certified personal trainer, as I still am now. So that was fortunate. But it was also, he was a competitive bodybuilder as well. So he got to compete. He got his posing suits. He got what he needed to eat or whatever. It was always about him. So when he finally did go to prison, it was all about me. And I remember very distinctly, unfortunately, I could not afford, he had taken every bit of money that I had. We could not afford to live in a very good area of town. And so we lived here, the gym was here, and right smack in the middle, I had to pass, coming and going, the most beautiful condos that I had ever seen. I saw them being built. I was so excited. And I said, every single time I passed them, I would love to live there. The day I got those keys, and I moved to my third floor condo with the balcony overlooking the woods. I laid on the floor in there, turned the fireplace on, it was July, turned the air conditioning on, and just laid on the floor and cried. And they were such happy, proud tears
Right,
because I was working on me.
right.
And that was what was important. As a personal trainer, I'm always motivating others. I started turning that back into myself, motivating me, supporting me. Uh, you know, I'm all about affirmations. I don't know if you are. I'm
Girl, come
all
on.
about I'm all about affirmations. And I had, done that with my clients, but I stopped doing it for myself.
Yeah, they're so important.
Something, oh my God, something so valuable, something so priceless. And I
Hmm.
stopped doing it for myself. What the hell? What is wrong with you? So every single day, I started with my affirmations and I write them on my mirror with a dry erase marker. You can make them as big
Good.
as you want. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good for
Because
you.
I am are two of the most powerful words in the English language
Yep.
because whatever you put after that will manifest itself.
That's right.
And that's when I started saying, when I passed those condos, I am going to live there one day. Look what the universe did. The universe said,
Right.
oh, yeah, she deserves it. Look what she's been through. Okay, we're going to make this happen for you. We're going to make this work.
Right. But you chose to close the door. And that's what
Yep.
I want to point out, right? Because you know, a lot of people think, well, oh, like if I just put my, no, like you still have to work towards it, right? You can put your affirmation out there, like I am, fill in the blank, obviously, but you can't just lay back and be like, oh, universe. No, you need to work towards that. By
Yeah.
you closing certain doors in your life, that open new ones for you. Because if
Absolutely.
you weren't going to do that and you decided to stay with him, you wouldn't be in the condo you're in right now. You wouldn't be with the person you are with right now.
Right.
So that's what I always stress to people is that, yes, the universe works, energy works. Yes, you put in the work, but if you're not working on you and changing you, because you can't change other people, they are
Yep.
who they are unless they want to change, right?
Yes.
So if you work on you and you better yourself and you truly first learn to care about yourself, because you can't just go from I hate everything about myself to I love myself and believe it. Okay, I'm
Yep.
telling you right now, that's bullshit. It's plain bullshit. Like it even sounds funny when you start saying affirmations because your mind and what you truly feel in your heart are not aligned, because you
That's
really don't
absolutely
believe
correct.
you
Yep.
really don't believe you are worthy. You don't, so it feels really awkward at first saying affirmations, hands down. And this
Absolutely.
is for my, you
Yep.
know, audience knows this too. But it's first like working on, well, why do they make me uncomfortable? And then you finally get to the root of why, right?
Well, they
But
make you
it's
uncomfortable because you've been told that you're not those things, or
correct,
however long your abusive situation was.
right?
You know, Don, a lot of people know this that have read my book. He was actually in jail and he controlled me from jail. I learned everything there was to know about a jail. And you know, when you're in an abusive situation, like for example, and you get taken to the emergency room like I was many times. People look through you. They don't look at you. They look through you. They look everywhere else because they're worried, they're ashamed, they're humiliated, they're embarrassed for you. And that's exactly what happened in the same situation with me when he was in jail. He still was controlling me. You know, I had to accept his calls, and calls from prison are like $7 a minute. And I had to accept his calls, and I had to be there, and I had to look a certain way, and I had to make sure I sent him letters all the time. And his commissary account had money before mine did. Before I ate, he got money. And that was one of those things that morning when I changed my phone. When I changed that phone number, that was the catalyst that just flipped my brain. Was it
Right.
instantaneous like we had just talked about? No, of course not.
No, it
It's
doesn't happen
hard.
overnight. But you realized, and this is what I want to point out too, you realized you were giving him that power. Like,
Yep.
hands down.
It
Like,
was
did
enabling
he
him.
right. You were exactly
Yes.
by you taking the phone calls, and this is not like it's not shaming, it's pointing out a fact, because what people don't realize that when you're in an abusive situation, what regardless of what type of abuse it is, you are giving that other person control. You are choosing, personally speaking too, you are choosing their power over your own.
Well,
You are
you're
making
giving them
right.
that power.
You're giving,
You're
you are, and
saying,
you're
please,
right.
here you go. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
You are. You are.
Absolutely.
And it's
And when
not
we
to shame
realize
anyone. It's
that,
to right. It's to point it out. It's to make a point of no one, hear me out, viewers, no one has the right to control anything about who you are except you.
yeah,
No one has power over you unless you give them power.
yeah,
And once you realize that you have more power than you give yourself, that's the catalyst. That's the shift of wait a minute. No one has power over me but me. And
right.
once you shift that and you realize, oh wow, I do have a choice to accept his phone call. I do have a choice to have him, like whatever. You have a choice. You really do. You really do. And once that's the first shift of change, because
Yeah,
that is like, I am person, again, because it's gender neutral. Abuse comes in all forms to all genders, races, ethnicities. I don't care. It is what it is. You have the power. You do have the power. You already know, and I always point this out too. You know what to expect. The scary part for people is the unknown, right? Okay, well, you already know what things are like. So making that shift to walk away from something that is no longer serving you, that's where fear comes in. But you already know what it's like. You have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I say this all the time on my show because that's where change happens. That's where mind shift happens. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You already know what it's like to be in an abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally. It doesn't matter what type of abuse. You already know what that's like. There's
Yeah.
some sort of bittersweet comfort to it because it's like, oh, well, I know what to expect from this person. Change is scary.
No, but see, the problem is with people, and you're right, they become very complacent. They're like, well, that's the way he is. I'm just gonna put up with it. But
No,
you
you don't.
have to you have to have that scary feeling, because if
Yes.
you don't have that scary feeling, if you don't have that I don't know how to make this happen, you have to make a change. What is it? You have to grow. And in
Yes.
order to grow, you have to learn. And in order to learn, you have to check resources. And one thing about that, Dawn, do you know how many people come to me and say, well, he doesn't hit me, so is it still abuse? Okay, I'm a personal
Oh,
trainer. Okay, I'm going to call bullshit on this one. If
oh yeah.
you have to ask me if you can eat something, you already know the answer. You do. If you send me a picture of a plate of something and say, can I have this? You know the answer. So if you're asking me, is this abuse? You know the answer.
You know what
You
it
want
is? Some
someone to
they need the
say,
validation and they need
correct.
so because for a person to admit, okay, and I can come from a place of personal experience. For for me to admit to myself that I was in a harmful situation, that made me feel even worse. It made me feel, but to be validated by someone else and be like, yeah, Dawn, that's fucking abusive.
Right.
Okay, so what I was thinking was real. Okay, I'm not crazy. Someone else is validating me.
Yep.
Because again, when you're confined, when the abuser is taking, and again, we're allowing it to happen. We got to own our part of it. Taking away all your friends and family, keeping you secluded. You only have that other person to listen to. You only have that person whispering in your ear. So to ask someone else, hey, is this, it's validation. It's
Right.
validation to give them that boost of, yeah, you need to go. You need to leave the situation. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
That's why they're
Oh
doing
yeah,
it.
absolutely. But when you get to the point, and my point about that is, when you get to that point, when you asking someone, you know the answer deep down. There's a
Oh
little
yeah.
voice inside of you. You know that answer. But in order to learn, as I said, you have to reach out. But then you have to throw yourself in the direction of the life you want to live. You have to. You
Yes.
have to. You have to make that first step, whether it's a mile the first day or a baby step. You have to get away from that person. And I am so glad that I was in a state where they actually took over the prosecution of him. I was out of it. There's nothing I could do. Oh, sorry, dude, you got caught beating me up again. Whew, sucks to be you. But not every state is like that.
Right.
And then so he gets out of prison and he's going to come find you, and it's going to be even worse. And that's where people get so worried, because I'll tell you, Don, restraining order, it's a piece of paper.
Yep.
It's a piece of paper, and it's not going to keep him away from you. But you have got to, again, make yourself safe. You've got to be in a safe place. Get yourself, a good tribe around you. Those people that were in your life before, they're still there. Just
Yeah.
reach out to them, just reach out.
Absolutely. Teresa, thank you. I can't thank you enough for just, coming on this platform and sharing your story with my listeners. And that in itself takes bravery, because we are our own catalysts. And, to pass this world, you know, to utilize your voice and speak up for victims that are still in these situations that just they're quite not there yet, you know, or they are there and they have no ways to go. What I think you're doing is absolutely beautiful. I love the fact that you're partnering with animal shelters as well to ensure pet safety too, because that is so huge, especially that pets are our emotional support animals.
Yeah.
And, you know, to at least have that comfort of feeling safe, especially when you leave something so, you know, crazy and violent and everything else that comes along with it. Like, I just love your overall mission and I can't thank you enough. Please let my viewers know where they can reach you. I have some people that actually, you know, they'll go onto YouTube and they'll play, but they're listening in their and they're not actually watching the video. So can you just let my viewers know where they can reach you and get a hold of you if they are in need?
Absolutely. Well, first off, my book, My Rock, My Hard Place, it's surviving domestic violence. It's the darkness of domestic violence. But you know what? There's a light at the end of this book. And the best part about my book, at the end of every chapter, it's a worksheet. So you or someone you love can actually go down and tear apart the chapter. How would you have reacted? Does this sound familiar to you? How else do you think things could have happened? So surviverisetotthrive.com. You can go on there. You can see everything about me, my mission, upcoming events. You can see a picture of Hachi and Akira, plus other fur babies. And I'm at surviverisetotthrive at gmail.com. I am on Instagram at Survive Rise to Thrive, on TikTok at Survive Rise to Thrive. And you know, Dawn, honestly, people always like, how can I help? How can I help? Well, something that doesn't cost anything. Share, like, and follow. Tell everybody about my platform, about what I'm doing, just like with you. Purposeful Wisdom, definitely like, share, follow. The other thing you can do is buy this book. All of the net proceeds from this book go directly to help domestic violence victims and survivors. A lot of people in my circle say, I can't read about somebody hurting you. Buy the book and donate it to a shelter.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. Oh my
So
gosh.
I
Thank
I have loved being here so much. You're definitely
oh,
my inspiration.
thank you so much. No, the pleasure was all mine. I definitely have to have you back because I know you're gonna have a follow-up book. I see it already. I know you're gonna write again, and I'll have you
It's
back on.
already done, actually.
So I definitely have to have you back on so you can share with your next book with my viewers because I would love that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I know this was a really hard subject today, but you know what? I talk about the hard shit and y'all know that. So I love you guys. Be well. Use these videos as platforms. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Help me grow this. Let's help educate people. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next recording. Bye, guys.